Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial on formulas. Today I will be showing you how to do calculations within cells using formulas and using relative and absolute referencing. We'll be working with this data set provided by ChatGPT, which is fictional and created for demonstration purposes only. So within cells you can do calculations. Let's start with a simple calculation. Let's find total sales. So to do that we want to multiply unit price by quantity. So we always start an equation with an equal signs. And then I'm going to click on the first value of unit price, which is in cell C2, and then add the multiplication sign, which is an asterisk. And then I'm going to click on the first value of quantity, which is in cell D2. And then I'm going to press enter. And now we have the total sales for product A, but we want to find the total sales for all the other products as well. So to do this, we can apply the formula to the rest of the column. To do that, you can either click and drag at the bottom right-hand side of the cell, like so, or you can double-click at the same spot, like so, and the rest of the column will get filled in. We can see that in each row, it updates the cell it's referencing. So in product A, the formula is referencing cells C2 and D2, and for product B, it's referencing cells C3 and D3, and that continues on for the rest of the column. The cells continue to update, and this is called relative referencing. Right, so now let's find profit. To find profit, we will subtract total sales from total cost. So in cell G2, we'll start with an equal signs, and then click on cell F2, the subtraction sign, and then click on cell E2. And then press enter, and we can apply the profit formula to the entire column. And again, this is relative referencing since it adjusts the reference based on the relative position of the formula. Great. So now let's calculate profit margin. Profit margin is profit divided by total sales, and that multiplied by 100. So in H2, cell H2, I'm going to start with an equal signs, and then I'm going to click on the first value of profit and divide that by the first value of total sales. And before I multiply by 100, I'm going to add parentheses around this division, and then I'm going to multiply by 100. I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to apply this to the rest of the column. And then if you want to change the amount of decimal places, under the Home tab, there's this number section here. And here's where you can change the amount of decimals. You can either increase or decrease. So I'll change it to 2 decimal places. And again, I want to emphasize we just did relative referencing again. And you can see here. So far we've only used relative referencing, but let's use a different type of referencing called absolute referencing. So when using absolute referencing, you fix the reference to a specific cell or range of cells in a formula so it doesn't update like in relative referencing, and instead the reference remains the same regardless of where the formula is applied to. So you'll add a $sign to tell Excel that it's an absolute reference. So I'll show you a quick example over here on the side. I'm going to use cell A1. So if we add a $sign before the A here, like this, it is an absolute column reference. So that means the column stays the same, but it's a relative row reference. So the rows can still change when the formula is applied to other cells. So if we delete that $sign and we add a $sign in front of the 1, like this, this means it is a relative column reference. So the columns can change, but an absolute row reference, so the row stays the same when the formula is applied to other cells. Then we can add a $sign in front of the A, and then also a $sign in front of the 1. And this is an absolute reference to cell A1. So when the formula is applied to other cells, it will always refer to cell A1. Okay, so now let's calculate profit margin again but this time we'll be using absolute referencing. So again, we'll start with an equal signs, and then G2 divided by F2, and then we'll put this in parentheses, and I'll do a multiplication sign. And last time we multiplied by 100 by typing 100 in the cell, but this time let's refer to cell J1, which has the value 100 in the cell. Let's press enter, and then we can apply this formula to the rest of the column. But we see that that didn't work because we see a bunch of zeros in the rest of the column. So if we look in the cells, we see that we're using relative referencing. And the cells are updating, which we want to do here, but not in the J column. We only want to refer to one cell in the J column, which is cell J1. So let's try doing a couple different options of absolute referencing. So the first thing we can do is add a $sign before the J. Let's press enter, and then let's apply this to the column. And nothing happened, and it's still incorrect because having the $sign in front of the J holds the J column constant, but the rows can still change. And we can look and see that that's true, and so we don't want the $sign before the J in this example. So we can try putting the $sign before the 1. So I'm going to delete the $sign in front of the J and put a $sign in front of the 1, press enter, and I'm going to apply this to the rest of the column. And now we see that this entire column is still referring to the cell J1. So this works. We can look and see that that is true. It's always referring to J1. And let's also try the last method we learned, which is putting a $sign before the J and before the 1. So now it has $sign J, $sign 1, press enter, and then let's apply this to the rest of the column. We see nothing happened since we got the same result because each row is still referring to cell J1. And we can check that that is true. And this absolute referencing option works for this example as well. So in this video, we went through using formulas in cells to do calculations and the difference between relative and absolute referencing. If you need further help or want to learn more, go to the ERC's website at erc.barnard.edu and find the walk-in hours in the Visit Us tab. Thanks for watching.